Welcome to the Prowler Podcast. Today, we are thrilled to have Brandon Rembert with us, ready to dive into his college and professional journey in baseball, while also shedding light on his experiences with high school recruiting in baseball from Booker T. Washington High School in Pensacola, Florida. And Brandon brings a unique perspective to the table due to being a current scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, without further ado, let's turn it over to Brandon as he introduces himself and shares more about his background.
What's going on, guys? As he said, my name is Brandon Rembert, current scout for the Pittsburgh Pirates. My journey to college was interesting, or my journey through college was interesting. So I started my first year playing at Faulkner University, which is in NAIA school. I was actually on the JV team there, not even on the varsity team. So I started on the JV team there. And then I transferred over to Coastal Alabama Junior College in Brewton, Alabama. Played there for 1 year and then got picked up by Alcorn State, which is a Division I team in Mississippi. So it's been an interesting journey being like on NAIA JV to like Division I, like playing at the lowest and then going to play at one of the highest levels of college baseball. So I think I have a pretty interesting journey. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. From Pensacola, Florida, live in Dallas now, scouting the Midwest here with the Pirates. Yeah, that's pretty much it about me in a nutshell.
That's awesome. And, our whole goal here at the Prowler with this podcast is like to inform these kids of like what to do in high school and what to do to get to the next level in a way. So, speaking on that, what were your steps in high school? Like what steps did you take in high school to increase your chances of being recruited?
For me, I went to some showcases here and there. Didn't work out like I thought it was going to work out. So the main thing for me was like reaching out to college coaches. For me, it was just a lot of emails, sending out video, sending my stats out like that, because I wasn't a really big guy. I wasn't like a guy at a showcase that's going to run a 6'3" or throw 98 from the outfield. I just had like soft skills, in baseball. So I was just reaching out, emailing teams, and that's how I first got my start with Faulkner. But yeah, for me, it was just a lot of reaching out and doing emails and stuff like that. I mean, for you to go to showcases, you have to have tools. If you want to stand out, you have to have tools. I mean, you might be a 300 hitter, at your high school, but like if you're not showing tools, like it's really pointless for you to go because you're not going to stand out. Scouts look for tools. College coaches look for tools. So I didn't have all those tools, but like I did have skills, and I started reaching out and emailing and started hearing back from coaches too. So.
Yeah, I think there's obviously a good and bad about showcases and all that. Like for the guys that have all the tools, man, that is their time to show out, for them to get all of this attention. But it kind of doesn't put enough attention on being a gamer, being a winner, like being able to play the game the right way. And that's where people like you that have worked your way through to NIA to JUCO and you eventually landed at a D1, like your tools played, but you didn't have the tools that were measurable by the loud exit velos, the this and that. You just had the nice hit tool. You were a great player, this and that. And I think that's why, like now, especially how the game's played, with the opportunities of going to an NIA, going to a junior college right out of high school when you're not highly, highly recruited, it gives those players a chance that are just gamers, that are players, that are winners, the chance to kind of build that resume up and then to eventually land at a D1 like yourself. So I think that's the game now definitely rewards people for winning and playing the game right, other than just being kind of a showcase player. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, like right now, like you hear all these people like that were overlooked in high school and things like that. Some people get late growth spurts, or they start developing late, and then they end up being first rounders when they were overlooked in high school because they might not have had the tools, but they were just consistent with the bat, and that consistency stayed, throughout college, and they're like first rounders or top 10 picks or whatever now. So that's just how it works.
Exactly. Just like for Charlie Condon right now, obviously everyone knows. I mean, he is the Golden Spikes winner. He's probably going to be the first overall draft pick.
Yeah.
Even though he went to Georgia, he was a walk-on. He was redshirted.
Yeah.
Like he didn't get any money, and they told him he wasn't good enough his freshman year to even dress out.
Yeah.
Like people miss, man. So like just keep going. Like someone's going to see that talent, and being able to win is always going to be rewarded.
Yeah, yeah. That's why persistency is like so big. Like I know some people get down, when they're not getting recruited by all these big schools and stuff like that. But being able to just keep putting your head down and keep working, that persistency, that consistency in the gym, consistency, working like on the field and things like that. That's why that is so important, because like that starts to add up and starts to build up, and eventually you're going to stand out when you get your time. So
Right. And speaking of all of that, you went through all the levels. You don't, like y'all said earlier, it's either a lot of kids think D1 or bust. That's not the case. You built your way up to a D1,
yeah,
and it's not bad to go to a smaller school, develop and get to that bigger school. And
yeah.
so, speaking on that, with the portal change as much as it has, being so wide open, like you can really, go to a smaller school and transfer up as, develop. But what was your journey going from NAIA to JUCO and then to the like Division 1 level?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, like I was on the JV team, and that's just something like I didn't really want to do, like I felt like I don't know what the word is. I knew it was just not the right place for me. Like Faulkner's got a really good team, even though they're NAIA school. Like there was 3 people drafted that year. So they have a good team, and I just knew I wanted to eventually make my way to a bigger school, especially being my freshman year. So I just wanted to get out of there, and that's why I went to a junior college, because I knew I was going to play. I knew they were going to be focused like on my development and things like that. And then after then, I got the chance to be able to go to Alcorn State. After that, they picked me up. So, and I had a couple offers from some other schools, like some D2 schools and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I just leaving Faulkner was just like, I just felt like that was the right thing for me to do. And then when I went to JUCO, I just got better. Like we talked about kind of earlier, just stay persistent, like put my head down and like work. Like I knew what I needed to work on. I needed to get stronger. I needed to get faster. I needed to throw harder. I just worked on all my tools like throughout the entire year, and eventually landed that spot at a Division 1 school after playing at an NAIA school on the JV team. So it's like it's possible for anybody, if you just work. To be honest, you just work and be persistent.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. Like leaving and going to a place where you're like, okay, I'm going to play a lot and I'm going to get developed. I think playing is the best form of development. Like you're almost it's hard to get better if you're not playing, not every day, but obviously playing a lot of games. That is the absolute best form of development, I think. So for these kids that are like, okay, like maybe I can go to a D1, maybe I can do that. Right now, I think it would obviously be the best option for you to go to a junior college. You get 2 years at a junior college, and you get, for a hitter's sake, you get 400 at bats under your belt. How much of a better player do you think you are in 2 years rather than going to a Division 1, not playing much, maybe get redshirted, and the next year not playing? Like, how do you kind of weigh those options if you were kind of a high school student in that same situation?
You got to go where you're wanted, and you got to go where you want to play. Like, coaches can promise you this and this or that, but like, when a coach wants you, and that's where you need to go. Like go where you're wanted, go where they care about you, go where they're going to develop you, and go where you can play. Like
Yeah.
I know like a lot of people's, dreams is to play professional ball, but you have to be on the field. Like
Yep.
no scouts are going to see you if you're on the bench. So go where you can play, go where you're wanted. I mean, like obviously Division 1 is the goal for a lot of people, but like people get drafted from every single level. Like I've seen D3 players get drafted, JUCO players get drafted, NAIA players get drafted, D2 players get drafted. If you're good, you will be found. Like scouts are good, and there's a lot of scouts. There's more scouts than you think. So everybody's watching. You put up numbers at a D2 school, like give yourself a chance to get drafted and things like that. But you got to play. Like you have to be on the field. Go where you'll play. Go where you're cared about. Go where you're valued.
Absolutely.
So making that switch from college ball to now, the MLB team's front office, the Pittsburgh Pirates front office, what was that like? What was, flipping the script? What was going from college baseball to now the front office?
So after my last year of college, I got my master's, and then right after I got my master's, I went right into working for the Pirates. But before I was on the scouting side, I was in the player development side, kind of as an they didn't call it an intern, but it was kind of basically an internship. I was a minor league operations assistant for 2 years before I went into the scouting space. But it was kind of humbling because, I wanted to be in that position. I'm the same age as some of those guys, but they're still playing on the field, and I'm like working in the office in front of the computer all day, working for them basically. So it was kind of humbling, but like I was also thankful to just still be in the game. And it's like I realized, how much goes into like a minor league system, like that process of all that, like how they practice, how they prepare for games, how they train, even like more of the operations side, like logistics and like per diem and all that stuff. So for me, that was a really good experience. But also, like I said, it was humbling because I wanted to be on that side, but it didn't work out the way that I wanted to. But I was grateful for that experience, and now being in scouting, being able to grade out those guys. I mean, it's an even better experience for me.
Yeah. So how did exactly that go from you working into the kind of the the minor league system, doing player development stuff to getting onto the actual scouting side? Because scouting is the real deal. Like you got to know what you're talking about for them guys to really trust like what you're saying. There's a lot of money that goes into these players.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of get into that side?
Yeah. So I just wrote reports, to be honest. So like I was watching games every single day because these guys play 130 games. So I'd be writing reports after games, just like on the players that I saw, and I'd send them up to like some of the front office guys. I went to like some of the important decision makers, like, hey, I saw this guy. This is what I wrote. This is what I think, and they'll give me feedback. Hey, this is what you can do better. And it was just a long process of that for over 2 years, just like refining my eye, because I know what a professional player looks like. I know what to look for in a professional guy now, and having that experience really helped me now in the scouting world, because I know what that player needs to look like. I know the tools, that he needs to have to be able to play at the next level. But for me, yeah, it was just writing reports, and like getting feedback on these reports and like getting better, like refining my eye and just making sure I'm seeing the right things and looking for the right things and working on the details.
Yeah.
So
Talking about those tools that you were talking about, like with the players, like you have to grade out their arm and their bat, their defense, if they're position players, stuff like that. What kind of metrics are you using, or even the organization kind of using, to kind of grade these guys out? And then even a step farther than that, what kind of intangible things are you looking at, like position player wise and even pitcher wise?
Yeah, so the scouting scale is the 20/80 scale. So 20 being the lowest, and then 80 being the highest, and then 50 is major league average. So if you have a 50 arm, that's still a really good arm, because that's major league average, and some people don't understand that. So we're grading players on the 20 to 80 scale, and we're looking for the 5 tools, being able to hit, how much power the player has, the arm strength, defense, and the speed, from a position player side. And then from a pitching side, it's a little bit more complex. But like, to break it down from the pitching side, like I personally look for velo, arm speed, projection, and like, how's his stuff play, the off speed, how's his stuff play? Is he getting swing and miss? Is he getting hit hard? Is his fastball getting hit? Is his fastball getting swing and miss? Like things like that. But a lot of the intangible stuff that you talked about is like makeup, is kind of what we call it. Like, how is he, off the field? How does he treat his teammates? How does he treat his teachers? What kind of grades does he have? How is he in the weight room? And it's our responsibility to be able to find out those things, because those things matter in pro ball. Like, a guy could have all the talent in the world, but everybody is good in pro ball. So what's that separator makeup? Like, is he relentless? Like, is he going to work hard? Is he lazy? Like, that stuff matters. That makeup matters. And that's part of our job, to do that digging, to make sure we have everything right. So we're in the best position to pick the best players.
Right, and that's what we try to, these kids in high school, they need to realize that all that stuff matters, in the classroom, off the field, in the locker room. For the team to be good, you have to play together, and you have to be, you have to be a good teammate to your in the locker room also. So you don't really do international stuff, do you? Like looking at high school student, like high school athletes or overseas international.
No, I don't do much. I don't do much with international, but I'd say this: my first year with the Pirates, I was actually living in the DR, working alongside those international kids that we have.
Oh
They're
yeah.
like 16, 17, 18
Yep.
monsters.
Those
they're
dudes
really good.
playing
Oh,
baseball 365 days a year since they could pick up a bat, and they
Yeah.
are the real deal, man. It
They're,
is.
they're the real deal, man. It's just their culture, man. Like they work so hard. These kids are, some of these kids are playing like to keep the lights on. It's
Mhm.
like,
No,
yeah, for them it's a different, it's a different grind. It's a different reason why they're playing. So their work ethic is different, and they have to be good for their families and things like that. And that's when not everybody sees that, but they're special, man.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, did playing college ball at a high level did that make the transition easier? Like you're going from playing college ball at a high level to a scout. Did it make it easier in a way?
Yeah, it did because like as a scout or as a player, I was always like in the back of my head, I would feel like I was always scouting, like I'm trying to get that advantage. Like, how hard is this guy throwing? Like, what's his pitches look like? Like, I'm looking at like the center fielder. What kind of arm does he have? Can I run on him? Things like that. Is that shortstop going to make that play? How hard do I have to run down the line? Stuff like that. So in the back of my head, I feel like I was already scouting, but like when I went into the scouting space, I was just putting what I had in my head, just putting it to paper and like verbalizing it in a digestible way so that everybody understands it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that experience definitely helped me. Like I felt like I was always scouting, but just like not knowing that I was scouting and like things like that. So
Right. And so, going from when you were in college, the whole atmosphere has changed with NIL and the transfer portal. What are your thoughts of the portal and NIL right now?
um I like NIL because these
Mhm.
players need to be getting paid.
Oh
They're
yeah.
making millions of dollars off these kids. Like,
Yep.
I wish they've always had NIL. NIL is good. But the transfer portal is a tough one because like you could be a high school kid, like, oh, you have this position, like you're probably gonna start, but like middle of the summer they can get this All-American from another school, pay him 500,000, and that's the next starting shortstop. And that can happen every year. Like it's like free agency, it's like you can pay whoever, come to this school, and like you don't have a spot anymore. So it's like it's I'm glad they have the freedom to do that, but like it's tough for a lot of these players that think they have a spot. If you have one bad year, they're gonna get somebody else to take your spot, pay him 200,000, and then like you're end up transferring somewhere else, and it's just it's a lot.
It
But
is a
like,
lot.
yeah, I don't know. I'm in between on the transfer portal, but I do like NIL.
I
They should
mean,
have that for a while.
Michael sees this stuff every day. I mean, these players, like you said, should definitely be getting paid. Like, they're risking like their career out there, like every single day. They should definitely. It's like it's a job. They should be like getting paid a lot of money for it. So, I
Mhm.
think it's good. I do think that there needs to be some set limits on the portal. You see a lot of these guys come into these schools and then leaving right away. Like there's like no like loyalty in a way anymore. There's nothing wrong with following a coach. If the coach leaves, you can follow him. But like if you're just transferring like, for money, like a little bit more money, I don't know. I'm not saying I wouldn't do that. Like, you're making more money somewhere else, you can get. So, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
definitely
hard with all the transfer portal now, but that kind of leads back to like different advice that I was given when I was coming out of high school rather than what advice I would give someone now. Like I would encourage a highly talented kid now to not, unless you are the top 1% of high school players, like go to a junior college, go play for 2 years. And I'm telling you, you will get so much more out of going to play for those 2 years than sitting behind a 24-year-old for 2 years. it is just going to do worlds of difference for you. And then once you get to transfer right back to that Division I that you were probably going to go to in the first place, but now you have 400 at bats under your belt and you have a lot more experience. And I think it's just kind of changed the way that you almost look at like high school players now. It's hard for an 18-year-old to compete with a 24-year-old. It's pretty difficult. So it's definitely changed the game in a lot of ways.
I think the JUCO route, it's great. Even if, like Michael said, even if you are a top, tier high school athlete, you're going to be a stud anyways. Go play JUCO ball. You're gonna have way more opportunities doing it that way. And you're gonna go straight from playing from a JUCO. You're gonna be getting playing time at a big D1 school somewhere. And so,
But one more thing on that NIL, so from a scout standpoint, has that affected your you and signability? So with you're recruiting a high school kid or even a junior in college that's hey, we want you, we're going to draft you in the whateverth round, but we can only give you $150,000 in the whatever round. It's no, I'm going to go back to Auburn for my fourth year and I'm going to make $200,000. So how is that and from the high school standpoint, has that affected you on the scout standpoint of signability? What more do y'all have to do? Is it harder kind of on that standpoint?
It definitely affects the signability, but it's also depending on the player, how bad do they want to go play pro ball? Because there's some guys that don't like to go to class. And there's some guys that just like to play baseball, and they'll take a lower amount of money just so they can get class off their hands and they can be a professional and get all the gear, get all the swag and all that stuff. Have that, I'm a pro ball player now for whatever organization. So yes and no. I mean, it depends on the grade too. Some seniors that can't go back to school, they don't have any leverage, so they have to sign for a low amount. It's yes and no. But if they really want to play, money is not too big of a factor. So.
But it's definitely changed all across the board. Basketball, baseball, football, and it's different in all of them. I think a little bit more money is in football right now, but it really seems like there's no loyalty in the transfer portal right now, and football especially. I haven't really seen too much about baseball. You got Tennessee and Texas A&M on right now, and who you got on that? Who you think is going to win that tonight? Are you watching it right now?
I'm actually, it's on TV right now. I got Tennessee. I think that, I don't know. I think they're due because I think a couple of years ago they should have. When they had Gordon Beck and all those guys, they definitely should have, won that. I think Tennessee's going to pull it out, but you never know. It's going to be who wants it more tonight. That's it. Who wants it more?
What's the score right now?
I think it's 3-1. It says
3-1.
Yeah.
What's the
seventh inning?
Okay.
7, yeah.
Did you ever have the opportunity to scout Paul Skeens from LSU?
I didn't scout Paul Skeens, but I was with him when he was in the minor leagues.
Nice.
Okay.
So I knew him very well. It's a big human being.
What's his future look like right now?
Large man.
Yeah, it's a large man, but yeah, he was really cool. He's a very down to earth guy. You might not know that about him, but he's like when I first met him, we were just talking, just a down to earth guy, and then he gets on the mound, and he's throwing 102 miles an hour. It's just nuts. And then when his girlfriend would come to the games, that's a whole nother situation.
Livy Dunn
with security, and some kids wouldn't leave her alone. That's a mess too. But no, he's legit. He's gonna be playing a long time. He's a good dude as well. Legit, great guy. So
yeah, that's what I've always heard, man. Great stories about him that you wouldn't expect. That he's really chill, laid back, just kind of there, and you wouldn't expect him to be the guy he is with all the fame, all the first overall, probably one of the better starters in the league already as a rookie. So that's really cool to hear those stories about those guys that are able to handle it very well.
Yeah, no, he's great. I wish him luck, and he's gonna have a long career. So,
have you met a bunch of the guys on the team, the pro league team? Have you met a lot of them
on the major league
league team?
Yeah. I mean, if they've been in the minors, I've definitely met them. A lot of those guys So like I knew Jared Jones, the guy up there, pitcher up there now, Randy Contreras, Indy Rodriguez, Henry Davis, even
Yeah.
in the minor leagues. Well, yeah, a lot of those guys, if they started in the minor leagues, I definitely had touches with them before they made it up, which is cool to see. Like when Henry made it up there, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
he was just in spring training with us. So,
Well, just to sum it all up, what advice would you give these high school athletes to do now in this atmosphere that they're going to have to go through in college?
let's see. That's a lot of advice I wish I could give.
Yeah.
For me, I would say not everything's going to be handed to you.
Right.
You have to go get it. Not everybody's going to tell you to work hard. You got to want to have that. If you want to be great in this game, like you got to have that want and that drive to like get better every day. Like, yeah, you can have an off day, but like you got to keep that limited. Like, especially in high school, like when you have an opportunity to get your entire college paid for and have an opportunity to make a lot of money in college, like life-changing money for some guys, like just go, just work, like grind, like put your head down, just focus on your academics and focus on baseball. To be honest, it's only for 4 years. Like you can have your fun when you get to college when you're making all this money, but like go get as strong as you can, like work on all your tools, like just get better, and put yourself in the best position, for college coaches to be able to see you and make sure you're showing those tools, making sure you're consistent in games, just go hard when you're in high school, like especially now people are getting big money in college. Like why would you not? Like why would you not? Free education and you get paid. Like if I had that, I would be chilling.
That's
Man.
life. That's the life.
Yeah.
That's the life for sure.
Yeah.
But this whole thing that Preston started, it's pretty cool. He mainly started it for these kids that aren't getting much recognition, and he's really doing all the work for the athlete, like, reaching out to the coaches. He has a whole AI system where like it develops these emails and it sends it out to all these coaches at once. And he's got a kid right now who's got offered by UNA, and I think he got offered by Stanford. He's been showing out. He's a linebacker, runs a 4.45, and he's starting to get more into baseball. And he's getting some baseball guys on the system, and so it's going to be really exciting to see how this coming up, high school season goes, and with all these guys. And he's starting to expand more. He's really started with football. He's getting into baseball, and he's going to slowly get into basketball. He's just kind of, slowly working his way across the board. But it's really awesome, and it's good having someone like you on here that can help them, because you've been there, you've done it, and now you're out for the pros. And so it would be really good. A really good podcast for these kids to watch. So, Mike, you got anything else to say?
No, man, I really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of good things said here that people can take from the experience. Like it's changed a lot. Like you don't hear somebody that's gone through it like you have very often. So I think it's definitely a really cool experience and one that people can learn a lot from.
Like you said, be persistent and you'll get there. So as always, thank y'all for tuning into the Prowler Podcast, and we look forward to continuing to expand your awareness of our platform, and we look forward to partnering with those who are serious about playing their sport at the next level. And next week we'll have another active player on, or coach, or former coaches, or former players, and we look forward to seeing y'all next week. And thank you, Brandon, for coming on and sharing all the insights of everything. And as always, Prowler up, and we'll see y'all next week.